7 Sport team greets you from Mount Panorama Bathurst for Hardies Heroes, the $20,000 scene setter for the Great Race. Sunny but cool conditions prevail, but that hasn't been the case in the lead-up days of official qualifying, as drivers and crews have endured weather of the Four Seasons variety. Larry Perkins set the pace here on Thursday, but then Peter Brock took over to head the qualifiers on Friday morning. Disaster then struck the Mobile team when Alan Moffat put the 05 Commodore into the concrete wall yesterday. The car was extensively damaged and is out of today's Dash for Cash. The crew members still plan to have it on the grid for the 1000k Classic. Commodores have sounded a warning to the turbo entrants. Australian international Alan Grice the man to beat. 2 seconds faster than any challenger and likely to go even quicker.
Sensational indeed. Hello and welcome to Hardies Heroes, the frantic one-lap dash to determine pole position for tomorrow's James Hardy 1000. And the top 10 qualifiers full of interest. There are 3 Commodores, 2 BMWs, 2 Turbo Nissans, 1 Volvo, 1 Ford Mustang, and believe it or not, 1 Mitsubishi Starion. Grice may be quickest so far, but there's less than 1 second separating the next 5 cars as they prepare to go out and duel with the mountain for pole position. For a full checkout of the top 10 qualifiers, here's Mike Raymond.
Making the top 10 by virtue of the Mobile mishap is the Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore number 6. At the wheel will be wisecracking New Zealander Graham Crosby. Second against the clock is the Valvoline Volvo dealer team entry with Tasmania's John Bow ready to show them how. Third out will be the JPS BMW team 635 with Victorian Jimmy Richards. Then comes the NZ Connectors Commodore number 11 with Triple Bathurst co-winner Larry Perkins at the helm. Easily making the top 10 is Albury's Brad Jones in the Mitsubishi Starion number 53. Fastest to date is Queensland's one and only Dick Johnson in the Motorcraft Shell Mustang V8. Fifth quick is George Fury in the Peter Jackson Nissan Turbo number 30, and he's been shaded only marginally by teammate Gary Scott in the number 15 machine. The second BMW to make the top 10 is the Bob Jane Schnitzer entry number 21, and to be rocked against the clock by Italy's Roberto Ravaglia. Rounding out the mountain men is Sydney's Alan Grice in the Chickadee Commodore number 2, the fastest qualifier so far for today's pole queue in Hardies Heroes.
Graham Crosby, the flying Kiwi, the first man out in Hardies Heroes, car number 6, the Holden Commodore, a set of 05 qualifying tyres on the 420 horsepower car. He gets the green flag and off on his first and only lap of Hardies Heroes.
Big V8 power, now taking the left-hand turn in a mountain straight. Crosby with his foot flat to the boards now. A long run up the mountain, a hard run, and this is where V8 power is going to tell for the Commodores.
Coming up to BP Cutting, working his way up to the top. Last year's pole time, of course, at 2:18.82 to Tom Walkinshaw and the Jaguar. The cars are running just a little bit quicker this year, over the top of the mountain.
One chance only as Crosby reaches the top. No opportunity here for error.
On the tail out as he goes through Forest Elbow, and a brave run down Conrod Straight. Using tomorrow's race engine, Graham Crosby under the bridge. A very late braking manoeuvre, lining himself up for the run towards the checkered flag to end his lap, and it looks like a good clean run for Cros.
A 20.370, a little slower than qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, it's real awkward out there. I couldn't get any grip in the tyres.
Second car out on the racetrack now is the Valvoline Volvo team 240 Turbo. At the wheel is Tasmania's Johnny Bow.
Twice Australian Formula 1 champion, having his second run at the mountain with the Volvo team, now the number 1 driver, and he's got the Turbo Volvo wound right up Mountain Straight.
Johnny Bow in the 44 Valvoline entry, heads through Bridgestone Corner, and on his way up the mountain. Turbo turned up and he's looking in good shape at the moment.
Doesn't have the same deep-throated roar of the Commodore, but by gee, doesn't this Volvo just whistle along.
This was a brand new car for Sandown, and throughout this week they've been plagued with brake problems. They've now rectified them, and they were down about 14 kilometres an hour on Conrod Straight. They've now rectified that. We should be seeing a good time from John Bow.
Bow hunched over the wheel in characteristic fashion. He manhandles the car down off the mountain.
They down now. Touch there of brake lock-up. Exit Valvoline corner. And Johnny Bow on the 44. Volvo 240 Turbo, the wide open spaces of Nissan Conrod Straight. Here he comes to wrap up his lap in Hardies Heroes, Johnny Bowen, 44. Nice clean line into the turn. Engine full up and across the line to take the checkered flag.
Bower 2:19.59, only fractionally outside yesterday's run.
Oh, mate, unfortunately, the tyres just didn't come on quick enough. They're still greasy even at the end of the lap, so I think Nissan have got the best idea. They've got the warmers on their tyres.
Third car to run against the clock in Hardies Heroes is Jimmy Richards, the former Australian touring car champion in the JPS BMW. His best time so far at 2:19.53. He'll attempt to better that now. Jim Richards, of course, the 1985 Australian touring car champion, won 7 out of 10 races that year, took the endurance championship, had problems playing in the sand here at Bathurst. He goes across the mountain, a little out of shape that time though. Coming down towards Castrol Curve, Richards with it all wound up, trying to put some heat into those tyres. Bobby into the right-hander.
Three times Richards has just been that fraction out of shape, and maybe that is going to cost him precious fractions of seconds in the end result here in Hardies Heroes. Clock ticking over for Richards. On the strip on the inside, there's the flag. Stand by for the time.
Not a bad time for Jim Richards at 2:20.75.
In the early part of Friday, Larry Perkins in the NZ Commodore, ready to take the green flag. He's underway in car number 11. 3 times co-winner here at Bathurst with Peter Brock. And now running his own team for the latter part of 86 and throughout 87. Larry Perkins, car number 11.
2:19.39 is best time coming into Hardies Heroes. Super swift and super clean line so far from Larry Perkins. Oh, gee, tail out there and went very close.
Larry Perkins having a real go across the top of Skyline.
Changing down into the corner. The flag is about to drop on Larry Perkins' fast lap for Hardies Heroes, and it looks like it'll be a pretty good time.
And a 2:19.43 for Larry Perkins, just marginally slower than yesterday's best.
Larry, there's the time, 2:19.43, and you locked the brakes up the top there. Do you think that cost you a bit of time?
Oh, I don't. I have got a fluffy engine down the straight. There's something a bit wrong with it, but no excuses.
The familiar face and the familiar roar of the V8 Ford Mustang. That's Queensland's own Dickie Johnson, car number 17. Ready to go in Hardies Heroes. Green flag ready to be waved. He's underway.
The Mustang's been super fast all week. In fact, he was 4th fastest at one stage on Thursday. But Dick Johnson, one of the unluckiest men at Mount Panorama this morning, just after the Nissan Pulsar draw, tripped out of one of the marquees and has sprained his ankle and has a suspected fractured bone.
Coming up into BP cutting. And the woes of Joe's favourite boy. Have a look at this. Cracked the windscreen across there to the right, as you can see with race cam, as Dick Johnson heads across the top of the mountain. Absolutely flat strap. Giving it everything. The hero of the Ford fans at the top of Mount Panorama. Down into Castrol Curve. Beautiful line through there. A car that we don't see in the European Touring Car Championship races. I tell you what though, Johnson's been able to extract more out of this in the last 6 or 8 weeks than any time since he started racing it. Now Conrod Straight. He's gone past that old tree where he went off a few years ago. So Johnson, with some problems, a sprained ankle, he's in good shape as he heads down Nissan Straight. You're travelling with him through the left-hander. Now stick all the way to the floor, and Dickie Johnson takes the checkered flag.
Johnson driving under difficulties, but still records a time of 2:19.8. George Fury now in the number 30 Nissan, the winningest man in touring car racing in Australia this season, about to get the green flag for his dash at Hardies Heroes.
Little George, the farmer from Talmalmo in southern New South Wales, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. As Gary mentioned, won more races this year than any other driver, but still lost the Australian Touring Car Championship. Fury into Bridgestone Corner, the right-hander, winding its way up to the mountain, and there's the shot from our new 7 race cam as we sit perched over the shoulder of George Fury, and you'll see just how busy he is at the wheel. Coming out of BP Cutting. Up through Toledo Turn to the top of the mountain. Car sounds beautiful. Now just watch how busy George is behind the wheel. Bouncing around in the cockpit. Using all of the racetrack as he comes down to the left-hander. Through here, Castrol Corner. Now down to the right-hander. The dipper.
Car's been giving them a few handling problems in the lead-up to this, but they think they've just about got it sorted out, although Fury does have to fight it through those corners, as you can see.
Coming out against the wall there. Turbo tweak and the little Nissan Skyline Turbo of the Peter Jackson team. George Fury at the wheel. Into the left-hander. Belching flame out the side. Georgie Fury, number 30 for the PJ team, takes the checkered flag.
George Fury, your time 2:19.04. That's the quicker so far. Happy with that?
Well, I thought we'd go a lot better than that, but then, you know, that's the best we could do under the circumstances. So I stuffed up a couple of corners on it, and I suppose the tyres weren't as hot as they could have been, but all in all, that's the best we could.
Was his fastest qualifying time to date, now out to better that. Now wound up and going strong through Bridgestone, handling a big plus here with his vehicle.
Coming very BP corner there, very twitchy indeed. Now towards the top of the mountain through Toledo Turn. Brad Jones just a tip sideways. Japanese co-driver for tomorrow's race.
Oh, and the car's in trouble. It's misfiring. So Brad Jones staring in trouble across the top of the mountain at McPhillamy, and that puts an end to Brad Jones' hot time. This was the fastest car down Conrod yesterday with 269 kilometres an hour. It'll be the slowest today.
Brad Jones obviously very disappointed with motor problems at the top of the mountain. Drifts down to the end of Conrod Straight and just across the line to take the checkered flag.
Well, watching but not competing in Hardies Heroes today, Peter Brock and Alan Moffat. How's the car going back together, Pete?
Well, we missed out by probably about, I suppose, 2 hours in getting to the Hardies Heroes. But then again, it was I think it'd be a gigantic risk to run the car after such a major rebuild. Without having done some sort of shakedown laps, although I'm confident the car's in excellent fettle now, I think rushing it would have been unwise.
Now the international connection for the James Hardy 1000. Italy's Roberto Ravaglia. Co-driver will be Dieter Quester of Austria. They're driving the Bob James Schnitzer BMW number 21. Taking the green flag now, and he's off on his one lap.
A man who has had 1 year's experience at Mount Panorama and put it to good effect with the second placing in the 1985 great race.
Here comes Roberto Ravaglia up towards Bridgestone Corner. The man who's followed his progress throughout season 86 with the European Touring Car Championship is also one of our guest commentators this weekend, and that's Richard Hay. Well, Richard, he comes to Bathurst with a wealth of experience.
Yes, he does indeed, Mike. A man who's had a top 3 finish now in the last 4 or 5 European touring car races. And he was saying earlier on that he got bolts on his quick lap yesterday and is it better things still today?
Of course, the man who finished second last year in the James Hardy 1000, Roberto Ravaglia, very close to the wall. Almost kissed it coming through there. He is trying and trying very hard indeed. The emerging driver, perhaps in touring car racing overseas.
Yes, very much so. A man who Gerhard Berger, in fact, the Grand Prix star who should have been here this weekend, rates very highly indeed. The one disadvantage that he has today is he's not able to get the draft down the straight that he picked up on his quick lap yesterday.
Can Ravaglia win pole position for the James Hardy 1000 and the $20,000 prize for doing so? The checkered flag is out. It's been a pretty good lap. Let's check the time.
And Roberto Ravaglia, 2 minutes, 20.95 seconds. At least he's going to be in the front half of the field. Car number 15 is the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. At the wheel is Gary Scott. And Gary, of course, has fitted into the Nissan team very, very well indeed. 1986. And actually has led George Fury in most of the practice sessions so far this week at Mount Panorama.
Like George Fury, Gary Scott has the benefit of warm tyres. The team surprising everybody this morning with this new innovation. Very Formula One, that idea, as Gary Scott climbs to the top of the mountain in the Nissan. Turbo really screaming. Fastest of the turbo cars throughout the week.
Here he comes across Castrol Curve, using all of the racetrack, then some. Caught the back of it, just kissed the dust out there on the edge of the circuit. Down through Bridgestone. Gary Scott trying very, very hard indeed. Coming down to Valvoline corner. Gary Scott comes out of there, uses all of the racetrack, and he's wound up now.
Scott leaves the braking possible, comes down now into the corner and turns to take the checkered flag at the end of his high lap, puts the front wheel up on the strip there. There's the flag. Let's check the time. Wow, look at the time for Gary Scott. Fantastic stuff.
Sit on pole position for the great race after the Jaguar assault last year. Who knows? This is the man that can answer the question for us. Alan Grice of the Chickadee Commodore, number 2. Ready to take the green flag. Back from Europe and ready for his tarmac attack at Mount Panorama. Getting up to Bridgestone corner. Grice was sat on pole here before. Has never won the James Hardy 1000. Loves the circuit. He's been quite a jet setter over the past few weeks. Jetting out from Europe to drive at Sandown, then back to race in Belgium last weekend, and of course back for the James Hardy. Coming out of the turn, just a wisp there of smoke, working his way up towards Toledo corner. Alan Grice in number 2, Commodore V8. Here he comes. Wait for the cheers on the top of the mountain. All those V8 followers. Go, Gricey, go, they say.
Seems as though Alan Grice may have a right rear tyre rubbing on a guard as he uses all the road at McPhillamy. The fastest man in the lead-up to Hardies Heroes with a 2:16.16. Gets a little messy through the S's.
Down to Valvoline corner. Grice in the Chickadee Commodore. Out wide against the wall. Only Nissan Conrod straight to negotiate, and Grice has got it all the way to the floor. Cuts it in tight. Here he comes out. The checkered flag's at the ready, and Australia's Alan Grice takes the black and white.
2:17.24, not fast enough.
Alan Grice at 2:17.24, but fortunately away from Gary Scott.
No, it just wasn't good enough. 2 corners I didn't do very well. A little bit of a high-speed pop in the engine. You know, when you get engines as finely tuned as these, the atmospherics from day to day make a bit of difference, but we're second, weren't good enough.
Well, what a great effort by Gary Scott, and it deserves great rewards. The Hardies Hero Trophy to be presented by Mr. John Reed, the chairman of James Hardy Industries.
Thank you, Gary. Congratulations, Gary. Well, a wonderful win. Great position to be in tomorrow, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. It's lovely to win the pole position. It's lovely for me, and it's very much satisfying for the team because I feel Fred pulled a Swifty on everyone, and he organised some tyre warmers, a la F1, and whether that was the trick, I don't know. But to the team, thank you very much for a brilliant car. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Okay, Gary Scott, pole winner for the 90 James Hardy 1000. Let's check the top 10 qualifiers. Gary Scott, of course, on pole position with that sensational time, 2 minutes 17.15. Second place goes to Alan Grice in 17.24. Second row of the grid will be George Fury in the second Peter Jackson Nissan. The time, 2 minutes 19.04. Then Larry Perkins in car number 11, the Commodore, followed by car 44, John Bower in the Turbo Volvo. Then car 17, Dick Johnson and Greg Hadsford in the Mustang. Car 6, the Commodore, Graham Crosby and Wayne Wilkinson. Then Jim Richards is the next qualifier in car number 1, followed by car 21, Roberto Ravaglia in a BMW, as is Jim Richards, of course, and making up the top 10, car 53, Brad Jones and Ahiko Nakaya of Japan in a Mitsubishi Starion. Well, Hardies Heroes, another great effort today, and especially by Gary Scott to take pole position. Hope you can join us 5 minutes to 8 tomorrow morning.